stop at an edge of respect. Otherwise, pressure gon' be at your neck when I burn you like. This ain't a game, my aim is the throne. I'm much higher than you, like a rocket, a drone. I'm powerful, think of a stone. Throw it off in my brain and I'm back to the bone.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We continue with tonight's Kart Rider Drift League. We just wrapped up the lower bracket semifinals of the team matches. MIRAENSEJONG will be moving on to face Liv Sandbox, and now we get ready for the last part of the round of 16 in the solo matches.
It's going to be a good night of Kart Rider. We already had a banger first match. Let's talk about the overview here for solos because you can see the entire schedule. If you zoom into the round of 16 final match on today's date, you can see that is where we currently are. So top 4 will move on to the finals. And I look at this, the lineup of players we're about to take a look at, and it's stacked. It's all the players who barely made it through out of the losers match, and then those who lost in the winners. You can take a look at some of the records as well. Neil is still just killing it. He's everywhere. ByungSu as well.
Liv Sandbox is just dominating the solos right now, and meanwhile, Cool is just like, yeah, I just win tracks on my own. Like, I don't know where my teammates are. Of course, Cool also setting some crazy records for us by getting the 3-in-a-row victories, twice actually, both in the very first round of the round of 16 in his own group, and then in the winners match as well. So he's been kind of cleaning house in the solos. But however, overall, Liv Sandbox players continuing to set some good records for themselves.
Here's our group that we have, our final match here. HyunSu, Luning, SUNGBIN, BBoong, ByungSu, JiMin, AcidFly, and HoJun himself will actually be the orange racer for this one. You can see that we already have our top 4 decided. Cool, Neil, Knock, and Hero. World, Will, Striker, and Ding were eliminated in that lower bracket match.
Yeah, World being eliminated, and maybe even Ding to a certain point, kind of surprising, but I think it just goes to show how stacked of a lineup we've had this very first season of the KDL here in the solos. I mean, even Will has been kind of a player that a lot of pros have been looking at and saying he could do some damage here. And then Striker, he was continuing to rise and float to the top, but unfortunately those 4 are eliminated. And now, as you mentioned, Wolf, you take a look at the final match lineup, any of these players could be joining the top 4 already in the finals.
Got 8 racers to introduce to you guys in order of seeding. And it is going to be a race that, for some of these players who are out of the team league, is going to be the last potential play that they have this season, the first initial season here. HyunSu will be the gold racer, our highest seed here. Did place 5th in the winners match to end up getting the gold seed. That is the higher seed that you would get rather than losers, and since he was 5th, makes sense that he's gold.
Yeah, just barely not making it over to the finals in the top 4. And of course, just giving a shout out to the nicknames of his teammates there, saying let's all go up together to the final 8. Luning, we just saw him in the team matches. Unfortunately, wasn't able to win in the ace match, but as inconsistent as he has been compared to his old record, that's because his old records have been so good. I mean, he won, the solo matches in preseason too, and he's been continuously showing up here again in the very first season.
Here's SUNGBIN, our 3rd racer here, the red racer for this one. Should I follow Cool or Spear?
Should I move up or should I move down?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a bit of a jab at his own teammate here, but for all intents and purposes, hopefully it is going to be Cool, as he has been topping the charts here overall for these solo matches.
BBoong, a player who really has surprised a lot of people this season in terms of his individual performance. It's potentially going to be his best performance ever career. If he can make it through here to the finals, that would be amazing for him. Looking a little tired today, we mentioned it earlier, but hopefully he can give his best performance here. And then moving on to ByungSu, the Liv Sandbox player here, 2 of his teammates. In this one we already talked about HyunSu, JiMin, is the next racer in line, the green racer. Let me get to the finals too. We'll see, he's at a flat 5 points. So kind of a pension meta type guy so far this season.
Yeah, and I mean, he drew a lot of attention in the very first preseason. He even worked with HoJun for one of those preseasons, and hopefully he can continue to prove himself here alongside another teammate from Live Sandbox. It's going to be JiMin, and he just wants a really good starting boost, and that's going to matter a lot, right? I mean, it's a free-for-all. If you can get that lead, that's so much more breathing room than trying to have to catch up by going for these aggressive cuts.
The next racer on the list is my personal big underdog pick. It's AcidFly. He just got defeated in the team match earlier today. AcidFly never dies. I love that.
Okay,
Writing it in English, and it's what his sign says there as well. But he has suddenly just seen lines that no one else can see. He jumps from 6th to 2nd to 1st. Like, he is finding angles in solos. He's predicting people's movements so incredible. And this guy is the opposite of a dark horse. He says, please, Taebar.
That's
he wants so badly to go in. He wants to be in the finals. It's like a Google search of like who's in the finals. It's
yeah,
like,
I love it. Yeah. It's a neat little idea. He searches for who makes it to the finals, and it's just pictures of him. It's a good sign here, and hopefully all that support and the momentum he just had from the team matches carry on, because what a story it would be if he returns to pro play and he's able to make it to the finals and potentially both the solos and teams in the very first official season of the KDL.
Yeah, I mean, if he could do it, it would be insane.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we get ready for the very first track. Whoever gets first place will be choosing the tracks afterwards, and it begins on World Tour Terracotta Twister. And the race begins. HoJun starting in the middle of the pack, just trying to maintain a starting boost as long as possible. And then once things thin out, he's going to start to go for these cuts. And that actually leaves a huge opening for AcidFly to get a massive lead right off the bat.
This is actually an insane lead to get this early on this track. We talked about the indoor portion being where you don't want to be in the midfield. The risk is so high of getting attacked by somebody else or getting knocked off in that chaos when it narrows out on that second turn inside. Well, the gap that he has right now, unless HyunSu gets a nice draft off from more aggressively nitros here, he should be able to avoid that midfield completely. Luning very aggressively going to try to nitro his way across, and let's see how this turn goes.
Just barely staying alive, but he actually finds a good opening there right next to AcidFly. AcidFly actually played a bit safer. He didn't want to take the risk against HyunSu and Luning, so willing to give the lead for the time being. But look at Luning. He is not giving up any space as he rises all the way to first place.
Yeah, you can see the difference in taking that safe line and just saying, they're too close to me, I don't want to risk falling off. It doesn't, you know, it pays off in that you don't fall off, but the risk of losing first and then dropping to 5th is so high just from a small slowdown like that. AcidFly loses all sorts of control, but those are the types of lines, holy hell, that I'm talking about with this guy. He slides his way through. Is it going to be able to hold on to that spot, but a nice attempt nonetheless.
Yeah, and HoJun just battles it out amongst that midfield. We talked about it, and it's continuing once again. Everyone had bunched up for a bit. HoJun gives up a bit of too much space as he tried to set up for the next turns, but he's not going to be able to recover that placement. Meanwhile, BBoong has risen to that top 4. Can he maintain it to the ending? Right now, Luning up front. BBoong some good blocks, but he bumps HyunSu off. That's all but secured 8th place for HyunSu in this very first track. Meanwhile, SUNGBIN versus Luning. SUNGBIN, he's known for his aggression. He's trying to find an opening, but BBoong says, why fight for first when you can just race for first? Can he keep on? No, it's going to be SUNGBIN. Catches on right after the boost, and SUNGBIN gets the 10 points in track number 1.
Yeah, Luning finishes the track with 2 nitros there, just not able to find the angle he was looking for, and will drop down to 3rd. Very opportunistic play there from BBoong. Almost takes the first place on the podium, but it will be SUNGBIN who passes him there in the end, and will be our first winner here. The Red Racer will have track selection for round 2. Very close race, though. Again, just like what we saw in our losers match there as well. Lots of back and forth. You never know who's going to take it until the end. Despite Luning's fantastic start, he slips down to 3rd. AcidFly really having some huge opportunities, but drops down to 7th. And HyunSu, the gold racer, will start with -1.
Yeah, just got bumped off there by BBoong right at the end, and he just can't get out of 8th place. That's a rough one. HoJun, of course, you know, he started in the middle of the pack, ends in the middle of the pack. Not a bad start, but again, we've seen some racers get really close or even secure the 3 in a row like Cool did. So this race could end at any moment. So every track is going to matter. That whole go for the long run, go for the pension meta, not going to be as reliable as we take a look at SUNGBIN's pick. He wants to take us to an old-time favorite. We are going to get ready for track number 2 as we go into Glacier Extreme Stadium.
Track 2 underway here. SUNGBIN takes the first race here. Will lag behind off the starting block, though, in 8th now. Bump there from ByungSu pushes him into the wall, and it's Luning. Once again has a fantastic start, this time battling with HoJun at the front of the pack.
Yeah, HoJun, he's always showed how much he enjoyed this track. He was trying to go for a good block there on Luning, but Luning's just going to swerve right out of the way. That gives an opening for BBoong. And Luning, despite the aggression, he's always been able to recover so well, both in team matches and solos. We'll see if he's able to maintain at least the podium finish. I mean, if you get in the top 3 every time, even if someone gets those 30 points in a row, you should be safe to make it to the finals.
BBoong taking some really aggressive inners there and then tried to really force the issue on that one and drops back massively into 8th. Look how far behind he is. There's a full hairpin behind. SUNGBIN will take these turns nicely. Luning maintains the lead here on the first hairpin set. ByungSu looking for the aggressive jump here, but Luning blocks him there, takes the wide. AcidFly in 4th, and HoJun continues to battle up in the podium position.
Ooh, good recovery from HoJun as ByungSu cuts him very aggressively. He's not going to go for that battle any longer. HoJun knows there's still quite a bit of track left, and he edges right into first place. SUNGBIN and Luning, though, right on his tail. And JiMin and ByungSu also, I mean, the Live Sandbox players not wanting to be out of this race just yet.
JiMin really fighting hard here. He's going to have to really avoid some collisions here before we get to those hairpins. We're getting closer now. As SUNGBIN wants to get the back-to-back here, takes that inner, doesn't make the same mistake BBoong did, actually did it conservatively enough to actually not lose too much speed.
Ooh, and HoJun with the heads-up play, he goes wide ahead of time, knows there's going to be collisions, avoids the entire pack, and he's going to be able to secure at least 2nd place, gets the draft as well around this last hairpin. Can he get the boost in time to cut off JiMin? He's going for the inner line. JiMin goes for a block, and HoJun says, you know what, we don't have to battle it any further. I am content with 2nd place.
Being content with 2nd place is not something we've always said about HoJun in the last few solo matches. A lot of the time taking extreme risks on that final jump turn to look for first, but he'll take 2nd this time around. He's really learned, he's changed a lot. The plays we saw from him today outside of the ace match, of course, showed a little bit more conservative nature, but you want to pick up yet another win. They had a very great performance, of course, in that losers match to end up here, and he'll take first place. So we take a look at the final scores here. Of course, Luning will pick up 5 on the 3rd place. Again, a top finish, and 4 actually,
yeah.
excuse me, tied at 11. Luning just down there at 5th, so a pretty large gap between the top 5 and 6.
Yeah, this is it's gonna be a close one, as we can see, but for those players at the bottom, you know, you've got ByungSu and AcidFly, even HyunSu, you know, the gold racer. They're gonna have a lot of work ahead of them if you want to start to close the gap and get into that top 4 to make it to the final 8 here.
Shanghai Circuit will be the track selection here for JiMin in this 3rd round. Will we see a repeat victory? Let's find out.
JiMin takes us to a bit of a field track here, going on to the WKC theme. This time it's going to be Shanghai Circuit. He's going to be able to start in the top half. We'll see if he can keep that lead, as this is once again a free-for-all here in the solo matches.
Certainly is. Taking that shortcut here, everyone avoids the tires, but AcidFly comes out on top. Luning, the one in focus here, going to try to boost early to get that very nice inner, but it's not enough to actually catch up with AcidFly. He's battling with HoJun as well at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, all eyes for me on HyunSu as well. We were just following him for the majority of that first lap, and he has so much work he has to do to try to just get in range. Because again, at any moment, any of these racers get 3 first places in a row, and he would just be knocked out immediately as the gold racer here at the very last part of the round of 16.
Yeah, he's really been struggling, still hovering in 5th right now. The gap between him and qualification right now is at least 8 points, so really needs to look for a podium finish here, and that kind of line is what you can do to get it. That pushes himself into top 3 here now. Nitro's pretty even across the board right now. Everyone is taking about as standard as it gets in terms of lines here, but Luning holding that advantage. JiMin sees an opportunity.
Yeah, just rises all the way to the top 4 right now, breaking apart those Songnam Rocks players as they were just trying to contend for first place. Meanwhile, HoJun, he's been playing it safe. He gets pushed down to 6th place, 5th place now, and ByungSu tries to take way too close of a line, bumps against the guardrail, and he is going to get knocked all the way back down to 7th place. Luning also trying to greed for a cutoff on JiMin. These racers are just greeting to try to get into first place, and that allows JiMin to get his second first place in a row.
Back to back here, JiMin. Oh man, he's feeling the pressure. He's clutching his chest, but he clutched it out so hard. He took that angle better than anybody else, found the diagonal, that everybody else started to panic, like, wow, JiMin's found this incredible line, but I have extra nitro. I'm gonna push through and then pass him and take the better inner. Luning in particular, the biggest victim of his own greed there, and goes straight from 3rd to 8th there, and will finish with a -1 scoreline. So this is really gonna shake up the top 4 here. As you can see now, it's SUNGBIN is the cutoff line, still at 11, but Luning down at 9, and you know, we do have a very clear top 4 now, despite it being only 2 points between SUNGBIN and Luning. The gap starts to widen significantly, and if JiMin wins this next race on his second track selection, it's over. It's done. We'll draw the line.
And man, I will tell you, if I had to pick any one racer to get 3 in a row in this final round of 16, it would not have been JiMin, but he's one step away as he takes us to Mexico Touring Rally.
Off we go here. Mexico Touring Rally, where JiMin could end it all. It's his track selection here, and all it's going to take is his win here, and we will have our finals decided. Not saying it's going to happen, but at least he has his own track selection here. It's a one-lapper, and it's very, very hard to catch up if you fall behind on this one, but there are a few opportunities, of course, low and high grounds here to wrap around. So a bad start, like what Luning has here, is not something you can't recover from.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some possibility, and meanwhile, JiMin, he is going to eventually have to yield that front of the pack. He'll have another opportunity coming up soon enough. Meanwhile, ByungSu, he is all the way down with 4 points right now at the bottom of the scoreboard, so he would like nothing more than to get a first place, not just to break off JiMin on his run, but just to try to catch up on the leaderboard so far. He finally gets first place, even if it's just for a few seconds at the time being.
ByungSu holding on to this one. HoJun battling with him. JiMin grabbing another nitro here, looking like he's going to get that second one, tosses it out here. Not the greatest line for him. Let's see if he can find an angle as we're getting closer and closer to the end of the track. That's not the line he's looking for. That might be the end of the triple.
Yeah, he just barely bumps off there. HoJun with a nice stop against BBoong. He's just trying to keep that first place, but another bump on HoJun as well, and that leaves way for HyunSu. Now SUNGBIN trying to aggress towards it, but HoJun's going to recover in between all these opponent racers. He's just cutting them off so he can try to take the closer line, and he will do so, but HyunSu, the draft comes in along with the boost. Can he get first place? He barely comes out 1/2 a second ahead of HoJun, and HyunSu with his first place finish here in the final round of 16.
Finally, HyunSu will bounce back as the gold racer and pick up those 10 points and make it more competitive here. It was looking really worrisome for him. He had a few decent finishes, but now he feels very comfortable as long as he can continue to race well, that he has a great chance of getting out of this group. JiMin will finish 8th place after that mistake there on the lower ground, and will lose a point. So we're resetting now the 3 streak, and we're still very far away from this being anywhere close to finish. 23 points here for HoJun. We're still 27 away from him qualifying to the 50 and ending our race in general. AcidFly down at 6 points. One of my big picks for somebody to watch out for today, but he's been anything but lethal at this point. But there's still a lot of race left. There's still a lot of opportunities to catch up.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a point gap that can't be recovered, right? We're still, like you said, more than halfway away even from the top scorer in HoJun. So we'll find out as we go to the next pick from HyunSu. It's going to be World Tour Miami Drive. The gold racer HyunSu finally recovers his place in first, and now he's continuing to take that lead right off the bat, just barely making sure he goes on. He actually just chooses to take that second booster as well, just trying to widen the gap as much as possible from the get-go.
Yeah, you always see that, but trying to get that extra edge, and it is going to pay off for him for now. ByungSu, a small nitro advantage, is going to try to utilize that here to pass him and be the first one to take this boost pad. Successful there, parries it into the second one, and SUNGBIN actually, HyunSu looks for the block there, and he just recovers from it perfectly, and now HyunSu drops back to 5th.
Yeah, HyunSu's going to try to make sure he keeps that inner line. He's going to be successful, but that actually forces everyone to kind of swerve off as they try to recover, and BBoong finds a good opening to get back into contention in second and first place.
SUNGBIN almost escaped from the pack there. He's on the edge of it, but he's not quite able to break free, so he's going to continue to bounce around here in what is essentially a pinball machine of a first lap right now, as everyone is just trading places. AcidFly, the unlikely hero, will grab first for a moment, but this is anyone's race to take right now, William.
Yeah, I mean, SUNGBIN, sure, he's constantly been in this podium finish range, but we've been trading places for first. ByungSu back in the running, but Luning shows up out of nowhere. And meanwhile, AcidFly, he's still got an opportunity. The draft comes into play for both him and Luning. Luning trying to see if he can get that opening. ByungSu's going to recover. He goes for another wide cut, and then he's going to be able to bounce onto that boost pad first.
ByungSu here just starting to widen the gap. He and Luning above SUNGBIN. SUNGBIN, though, still in draft range here, is going to utilize one to try to close it, as we are getting very, very close. Will Luning finally actually win one of these races? It's as close as he's been, but SUNGBIN stealing away again.
Yeah, SUNGBIN and HoJun had the same idea, but SUNGBIN was just a hair ahead, and he's able to contend once again for first, but Luning, he recovers it, and now everyone's still in the middle of the pack. ByungSu goes against the wall. He's knocked all the way back down to 8th place. Meanwhile, the race, it looks like it's between SUNGBIN and Luning. HoJun, can he break them apart? No, Luning's gonna bounce forward, and Luning will get first place finally here in the very last round of the final 16.
Yeah, really well played from Luning there. Looked like maybe that final turn he took a little bit too wide, lost too much speed, but he realized he had just enough nitro build there that he could actually get one final boost before everybody else if he took that line. And he was just able to calculate that and have that final boost to come through as the first racer there. So he'll take another first place. Well, his first of this race so far, this group rather. 10 points go to him. And the gap here, you know, between top 4 and bottom 4, very close. BBoong and JiMin both sitting at 19 points, HyunSu at 18. It's really only AcidFly and ByungSu who are struggling thus far, but for everybody else, it's still possible. And it is still possible for ByungSu and AcidFly as well, as it's going to take a bit of an uphill battle. But we saw AcidFly bounce back last time to get here. Maybe he could do it again.
Yeah, it's absolutely possible. You get, 1, 2 first places in a row. You flip the board just like JiMin did earlier today. But for now, we will be moving on to Luning's pick of Zigzag Timberland.
Off we go here in round 6. HoJun still the leader, but it still feels like we're nowhere near 50 points. He is sitting at 28 right now. Still, any one of these 8 racers can get out of this group and go to the finals.
Yeah, Luning trying to make his own three-peat happen right now, just contending for the podium. And HoJun, I mean, again, he is in the lead for now, but you can tell he's starting to feel the pressure just a bit. More racers are trying to catch up to an overall point, so he wants to make sure he's at least in the podium, continue to take the lead a bit further on the scoreboard.
Absolutely. BBoong occupying the first place right now. HyunSu with an additional nitro. See what he can get out of it. Oh, blocked by HoJun there. It isn't going to feel good to use your nitro like that, but it's not his fault. It's just a good play from HoJun. As this top 4, bit of a gap here between the bottom 4. Midfield kind of non-existent here as HoJun with some slick moves to take first.
I mean, basically just goes right under BBoong as he jumps from a collision, and BBoong's going to fall all the way down to 8th, and SUNGBIN had to slow down on that recovery as well. So HoJun, a bit of breathing room, but SUNGBIN, aggressive as ever. He's still in contention as Luning tries to recover his place.
I mean, HoJun almost got into time trial territory there for a second. He's just not racing against anybody. He's racing against his own ghost, but Luning now trying to catch up with him here. He couldn't get out of draft range. This is a very competitive top 3 here. HoJun still holds onto it for now, especially with that collision from Luning. ByungSu takes the inner, but HoJun's block is too good.
Yeah, HoJun just bumps ByungSu back. However, this gives that opening for SUNGBIN, right? So HoJun, good recovery, but SUNGBIN was not part of that battle, and he's able to shoot back forward into first place. Still anybody's race as we got those hairpins coming up. Several more draft opportunities. We'll see if HoJun takes when he's trying to set up. He's pressuring for that inner line, trying to get a read on SUNGBIN, but he has to worry about Luning right behind as well.
Yeah, maxed out on nitro, not getting much from that cut there, but he does have one left here, gets the advantage as we're getting closer to the end of this track, but he can't block 2 racers.
No, too many to have to worry about HoJun. He's got to pick his battles. I mean, he is in the lead right now he has to consider the overall points as well. Luning, once again, a bit too aggressive, is going to collide against the track. HoJun trying to get the cut to cross SUNGBIN, and they're just trading back and forth, and ByungSu wants a piece of the pie, but it's going to be HoJun once again trying to push through. No, Luning just edges him out. HoJun loses too much speed, and ByungSu and SUNGBIN will be shooting forward. JiMin actually showing up out of nowhere to get second place as well.
That race was so insanely close from start to finish, and if you could put a percentage on who held first place the longest, you'd put it at like 85 for HoJun. He was there 85% of the race. He does not even break top 4 though, because he greeds a little bit on his nitros to try to actually have that lead of the pack there. He runs out of steam and the rest of the pack catches up. That pushes him down all the way to 6th place. He'll pick up only 1 point from one of his most beautiful races we've seen in this group. And that's how cutthroat Kartrider Drift is. You make one mistake, you overcalculate, you're like, I need to get first, and then he'll drop back to 6th. He still maintains first place, but the lead he had now has shrunk so much. It's only 1 point that separates him from first and second. He's shaking his head. This group's not ending anytime soon.
No, but he still wants to just make sure his fans trust in him and gives that thumbs up. We'll see if he can keep that smile up for the rest of the races as well. As you mentioned, Wolf, this is getting closer than ever as we now prepare for the next pick. We are going to be going to Mine Gold Rush. ByungSu finally getting a taste of the pie as he gets his pick on Mine Gold Rush. He did have to start on the edge here, so just going for one single cut before he gets ready for the downhill slope.
18 points for him after picking up those 10, so keeping his chances alive, but he still has a few more he needs behind HyunSu and Luning by 5, 4 and 5 respectively. JiMin taking the lead here as well, picking up a ton of points, 7 from that second place finish on the last track, really putting himself into the running for qualifying for the finals. HyunSu holds first for now. HoJun again in podium position. Can he hold it is always the question. ByungSu, that was a really risky play, but no one collides with him, and he'll be rewarded.
Yeah, and it's going to be SUNGBIN still holding on to the lead for the slight time being. See if anyone makes any aggressive plays. No, but ByungSu will just coast as the other two players are battling against each other. He's able to maintain his speed around that corner. We saw AcidFly for a glimpse there, just trying to go for these aggressive swift cuts, trying to get just a bit extra boost so he can try to catch up, but he's way far behind in 8th place.
ByungSu is just awoken suddenly in this group, and he is racing like his life depends on it right now in this second lap here, maintaining first no matter what. No one can cross this man. He's taken this extremely tight inner. BBoong matches him, but then can't pass him. Trying to draft past here as SUNGBIN sees an opportunity to keep himself in top 3 as JiMin takes an insane inner there and somehow manages to avoid collision with anybody. We're getting very close now, taking another tight inner off the jump.
And JiMin, he does hold on to the lead for now. HoJun trying to find an opportunity. He's able to maintain his top speed for just a bit longer, but there is a bit of a gap. Meanwhile, ByungSu, does he have an opportunity? Can he get the draft? No, he's going to get blocked off, and Luning will be shooting forward as HoJun even passes ByungSu in for 3rd place.
You never know until you cross the checkered flag who's going to win. It looks good for somebody, and then you just don't know until you get there how it's going to end up, because that was an insanely close race. And Luning gets the final win there. Also jump back there, or jump through for HoJun. Will pick up 5 points himself. It's very close. I actually have to see the final standings to see if HoJun still holds first place. I think he might have been passed actually now by Luning, who picks up his 2nd win. Nope, he's just 1 point behind. Just 1 point behind Luning and JiMin at 33 each. But we're down to potentially 2 more races to finish the group if HoJun can pull it off. If he gets a top 2 and a first place. Same with Luning and JiMin. There are 3 players that can get top 2 and a win, and the group is finished.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it's starting to get close to that finish line, but again, if some of these players on the bottom half get that first place, break apart things, you know, maybe players like HoJun and Luning, they fall down to 8th, that suddenly extends the solos for just a bit longer. Waiting to see the pick. It's going to be snowbound slopes coming in from Luning as he tries to take over HoJun in this next round in round 8.
Very intense final match here of the round of 16. We're in our 8th round right now. No one can finish it here. We're going at least 10 JiMin holds the lead right now. This is our 2-lap track, snowbound slopes. This one can be very, very cutthroat. If you make one mistake with these narrow tracks, you're going to have multiple collisions. You will lose all of your momentum. So it's very important to try to get ahead early, as JiMin has, and then take as tight of lines as you can. You do not want to fall to the midfield.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have a couple opportunities once you pass by these caves, but even then, sure, there's a little bit of build variety, but if you don't have to contend, you're going to be able to just really cut your way all the way in between these trees. So as we see JiMin doing right now, all he has to do is worry about AcidFly. Oh, yeah, okay, gonna collide against the track just a little bit, and that allows Luning to catch up for just a bit of extra distance.
Yeah, JiMin instantly nitros there to recover, though. Very nicely done. Has actually built up one extra one, but you see he's a little bit behind some of these other racers and will eventually fall behind because of it. Better to nitro there and recover than to just sit back and fall to 6, because then you're going to be really struggling on so many of these tracks, tight parts. Now going into the ski jump to reset the lap here. BBoong actually in pole position with that nitro at the ready. I was going to say, why is he in pole position? It wasn't really, it was the trick of the
yeah, the lift there,
the lift.
It just kind of mixes it up as they go forward, but it is going to be a HoJun. Now, as they were entering the lift as well, he had some good blocks against ByungSu while he's getting his extra cuts, so just trying to maintain the lead for the time being. A good drat from Luning, but Luning also understands the mission. I mean, he tried to go for a battle here, and you might lose all momentum, fall all the way down to 8th place. Just going to play it safe. Actually relies on HoJun making an unforced error.
This is the moment where you prove that you're a courageous racer, right? And I think HoJun is the one of these top 4 that we're looking at right now who is going to take the big risk. Doesn't find an opportunity just yet. Actually takes an opportunity to cut for some extra nitro there. That was very greedy. Let's see what he can do out of this jump here. This is really going to be the defining moment here for Luning as SUNGBIN attempts the pass. Big turn.
Yeah, and SUNGBIN, he's been storing up just a bit extra nitrous as well. Good recovery against HyunSu and HoJun. So SUNGBIN holding on to 2nd place, just trying to pressure Luning, but Luning's constantly got that double boost. Is it going to be enough? SUNGBIN, he might be content just holding on to 2nd place, just trying to make sure he gets a couple extra points. As we see Luning, he's trying to cross the finish line first. HoJun will pass by, though, and HoJun another boost. Oh, he's so close, but it will be Luning for yet another 1st place.
And now Luning is going to take 1st place in the standings as well. He will pass HoJun with the additional 3 points he gets. He should be 2 points ahead now at 43, if I'm not mistaken. So a 1st or 2nd finish, like I mentioned, will actually end this group for Luning. If he finishes 1st, he will also have the back-to-back-to-back. It won't matter because he will have gained 50 points anyways, but still, he'll at least be able to be on that list of 3-peats here in solos. A very short list at the moment, but he'll be the 2nd racer to do it here at our 1st season of KDL with a new inclusion of this rule. HoJun will also end the group, but only if he takes 1st place. If it's HoJun and Luning both getting top 2, then we will, of course, see 2 racers with a +50 scoreline. If you are ByungSu right now, this is the most important race of the tournament. You have to do better than your competition right at the end. He's a point or 2 behind the ones he's competing with in terms of qualification. And if you're on the lower end, AcidFly, you're pretty much doomed. If you're BBoong, you're hoping that these top players don't make it through in the top 2.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of conditions here, but we'll have to wait and see. First of all eyes on Luning as he takes us to his next pick. It's going to be Factory Facility 5. Luning dressed in black here as he tries to make sure he closes things out. Getting 1st place would absolutely secure not only the top 50 points, but also the 3-peat to make sure he moves on in that 5th place for the final 8. However, HoJun also just trying to get a better seeding here in the final 8.
Taking a look at ByungSu right now, he and HyunSu, teammates, 1 point apiece between them. You're going to forget about Live Sandbox for a minute because this is now your chance to make it to the finals. And oh, that was very scary.
Oh man, SUNGBIN, he's able to recover just a bit, but he almost gets knocked into the abyss. He's going to climb right back into the top 4 though.
He certainly will. ByungSu racing again so well here where it matters most. The 1-lap track. It's a fairly short one. We'll see if he can stick the landing here. If he can outcompete HyunSu by 2 points, then he's very likely, of course, going to qualify. Luning in 6th right now, so, you know, we're not necessarily done just yet.
Yeah, I mean, Luning's not quite able to finish. Neither is HoJun. HoJun needs that 1st place as well. Luning needs either first or second, so there's still a bit of an opportunity, and HyunSu knows that this is happening. HyunSu wants to make sure he gets in the first place. He actually swerves a bit too far as he tries to recover off the drop, and Luning now looking to finish this very final match in the round of 16. He's actually just trying to put the nail in the coffin.
Oh, poor HyunSu, he's dropped back to 7th here. This might actually knock him out of the finals here because we're going to see Luning win it. He's going to get the 3-peat here, and ByungSu takes 3rd. He should pass HyunSu to qualify here. A tragedy for HyunSu here on this race. Our gold race are not going to make it through, but Luning, a story of the defending champion. He will return to the finals in glorious form. 3 wins in a row, and will crest 50 points as well, 53 to make that line, dropping it into top 4. Luning with a great performance after a loss in the ace match as well. He really showed up in this solo.
And ByungSu just 1 point away. If he had gotten 2nd place, he would have made it in, but JiMin, with the 2 first places he had earlier on in the race, he's able to continue into 33 points. Barely crosses the finish line and will be moving on to the final 8.
I thought ByungSu was in for sure, but JiMin just 1 point ahead.
Wow.
And I mean, wow, both of those Sandbox players out here, and JiMin will be the only one who makes it through with Luning and HoJun. The Emperor, great racing tonight from HoJun. Really shored up some of the inconsistencies we saw from him in the last 2 solo groups he played in, dropping down to losers, having to fight his way through there, narrowly making it through. But today, I think a statement race from him. He wins the ace match, and he's going to be in the finals for solo, and he may very well, if he can continue to be the leader for his team, be in both finals.
Yeah, I mean, HoJun really making a statement, right? After all these years, he returns to the stage, keyboard in hand, and he's able to carry on, try to compete for that trophy. So he will be living on. But man, Luning, what a good recovery story here, because a lot of us were worried, are we not going to see a repeat once again, right, going into the finals? I mean, Luning started to look shakier and shakier. He was taking a lot more risks, but he says, no, I'm back. Not only do I cross the 50-point line, but I too will put my name on the 3-peat Hall of Fame.
Yeah, just 2 of those this season. That's all we're going to get because we don't have that rule set in the finals. So we'll see what happens in the next season of KDL. But Luning squeaks by on the final race to get 3. Doesn't end the group early, but it still counts as a 3-peat.
Yeah, absolutely. You still got to put it down for the record. HoJun with a healthy 45 points as well. So while he doesn't move up in first place here, you know, being able to get that 5th seed in the final 8, still a very, very solid race. And obviously a bit more time bought until the final 8 of the solos. SUNGBIN and JiMin will be following up afterwards to round out our last race of the solos.
Yeah, really should be an exciting conclusion to what has been an amazing season for these players. You know, I had high hopes for BBoong and AcidFly, 2 players who I think really came in as dark horses in their groups to come here in the first place, and they didn't deliver today, unfortunately. But you know, it's stiff competition with how JiMin is racing, with how we're seeing Luning come out, and the improvements we saw from HoJun. It's just a tough group to get out of.
Yeah, I mean, this was very tough. Again, we can see, I mean, ByungSu was so close. HyunSu, one that you would expect to actually make it in to the final 8. And then, as you mentioned, BBoong and AcidFly, they had been showing good recovery. However, that is actually going to be the end of their journey overall. They just got eliminated earlier tonight from the team matches. And, of course, now they are eliminated from the solos. They will be finishing in the round of 16. Well, that wraps it up for all the matches tonight. Of course, we still have more of the season left, and we're going to review how things panned out right now, because what a night we had.
Yeah, we had a very exciting team match to kind of start things off this evening, where we knew that there was a clear, well, I wouldn't say clear favorite, but there was a favorite, right?
Yes.
And not a clear favorite, and our expectation that it would go to ace and that Rocks would win item came true. It was really the ace match that was the most exciting part of it all, and the speed was very close. Rocks almost actually took that. And then if they had, they would have won the series 2-0. You know, it's very small margins here. But MIRAENSEJONG will end up taking it and will face Live Sandbox in that losers final.
Yeah, so just good showings from both teams, but at the end of the day, MIRAENSEJONG just able to stay a bit more focused. I mean, making sure that they can get that comeback win in speed mode was so huge. And then you send HoJun out, the veteran, into the ace match. He's still able to stay in the zone, get a read on Luning during the first lap, eventually is able to course correct himself into victory in the last part of lap 2 on Bayside Bridge Run. And MIRAENSEJONG lives on. They will be moving on to the lower bracket finals to face off against Live Sandbox.
Yeah. We'll take a look at that bracket in just a moment to show you guys what it kind of looks like at the end here for teams. Only have 2 matches left. There it is. Live Sandbox against MIRAENSEJONG on the 29th. And then, of course, just a little bit later on, the winner of that match will face against Kwangdong Freaks to see if Kwangdong could be the first Kart Rider Drift champions. They're preseason 1 and 2 champions, but this one's the one that goes on the record.
Exactly. I mean, you got to imagine there's a bit of pressure for Kwangdong Freaks, right? Because if you lose here, it's like, well, is anyone even going to remember us anymore after the preseasons? Because the one that goes in the book is going to be this trophy, the first official trophy of the KDL. Curious to see who will rise up to challenge them, as overall they have seemed unbeatable in team matches so far. Of course, the finals is going to be an extra week later, but next Wednesday is going to be Live Sandbox versus MIRAENSEJONG. And after that, of course, tonight we did have the solo matches we just wrapped up. It was the final match of the round of 16. We were looking to find 4 more racers moving on to the finals, and we see it there. It's going to be Luning, SUNGBIN, JiMin, and HoJun.
So the finals will be Cool, Neil, Knock, Hero, Luning, SUNGBIN, JiMin, and HoJun. A pretty insane lineup. If you look at it, 3 of the 4 MIRAENSEJONG players are in this finals. We'll only have 2 Live Sandbox representatives, and we're going to have 2 Kwangdong representatives as well here. So, you know, we're kind of lining up, I think, in some ways with the results of the team league as well as the team representation going into top 8 here for the finals.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting one, though, for sure. So just make sure that you're catching all the remaining broadcasts. We only have 3 more left, right? Just 2 more matches in the team matches and 1 final match for the solos. Of course, for those who haven't watched KDL before, the solo matches in the final 8, we go through the point system, and then it goes down to a 1v1 as well. So lots of excitement awaiting us. Take a look at the upcoming schedule for our next matches as we near the very end of our first season of the KDL. It should be that team match between Live Sandbox and MIRAENSEJONG.
Yeah, this one's going to be on Wednesday, 6 p.m. So the final playoff match before we go into the finals. So this one is going to be big, and then we'll of course have the solo finals, and then the team match finals will be on December 9th. So mark your calendars, keep it as you expect, right? We are still doing Wednesdays and Saturdays, but just make sure you put those dates in your calendar. You do not want to miss these. It is going to be more good Kart Rider action. Today really delivered, but I think we've got even better in store.
Yeah, I mean, it just looks close and close every time now as we narrow it down to the final players, the final team. So curious to see how everyone is going to improve. Well, that wraps it up for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining myself and Wolf. And we'll see you next week on Wednesday to see who rises up to face Kwangdong Freaks between Live Sandbox and MIRAENSEJONG.
mouth, better add your respect. Otherwise, pressure gon' be at your neck when I burn you like. This ain't a game, my aim is the throne. I'm much higher than you, like a rocket, a drone. I'm powerful, think of a stone. Throw it off in my brain and I'm back to the bone.